Design inspiration, real-life makeovers, and the latest in pop culture. This is the Uploft Interior Design Podcast with Betsy Helmuth.
It's my podcast, and I will make excuses if I want to. My computer is totally annoying me, and I opened a new computer, opened Zoom, and now the camera won't stay still. It keeps tracking my movements. I have been taking so many clients. It's been inspirational and dizzying and exhausting. And I have worked with ChatGPT to fix this issue. It's not fixing. And I got home. I had dinner. I dealt with the 3 kids. And I'm not putting on makeup again for this podcast. Sorry, guys. Can you tell? I'm in that kind of mood. But I've been really inspired by my clients and been meeting so many fascinating people. And just last week, I worked on 52nd Street. And today, I worked on 53rd Street. And I had so much fun meeting this new client who's a fashion designer. And it's obvious she has impeccable taste. But sometimes, if you have really great tastes and you know it, you're not afraid to buy things and you buy a whole bunch of things that you like. And that doesn't mean they go together. So I found myself doing something I don't do so often, is philosophizing or sharing with her nuggets of wisdom that kind of apply to both life and interior design. And while I do this with every client, with her, I just couldn't stop doing it because there were so many that applied. But the one I'll share with you today is about loving items. It was clear. She'd worked with another designer before. She was looking to love things. And it was clear that sometimes with other designers or even with her own choices, she fell out of love with things. So she had very cool things, whether it was a grape purple balloon chair, whether it was like this graffiti style mural wallpaper that featured these flowers that were like dripping down her walls, whether it was like Louis Vuitton handbags ensconced in resin to look like big oversized purses. There was just so much to look at and so much to enjoy. And I love a client like that who's not afraid to go really big and bold. That being said, some of the items didn't feel cohesive because she waited to fall in love with each item. And when you do that, just like when you fall head over heels for a person, sometimes you don't make the clearest choices. Sometimes you're making choices based on that overwhelming, overpowering, all-consuming feeling of love versus really going for the goal of finding something that holistically fits the space and your lifestyle. So that's why I caution against people falling head over heels in love and just forcing things to work that maybe organically wouldn't work because you're just so in love. And think practically as well. Does this person fit into my lifestyle? Do they mimic my values? Are they going to make my life better on the whole versus just, in bed or at dinner or, at a sailing regatta? I don't know, right? But that's the same thing with furniture. Just buying this one piece because you love it. Does it go with the other pieces? Does it work in the space that I have? Am I serving myself in terms of creating and attracting things that not only fit my space, but fit my lifestyle, the way I actually like to sit in this space? If I'm picking these amazing chairs, but they're not actually comfortable, are they really seating? And the answer is no. All right, so there were so many more anecdotes that came from that visit, but I'm just really inspiring to find her things that she's going to like. And I'm optimistic that she will be more flexible in terms of pulling the trigger on things she likes without feeling that pang, that overwhelming sensation of love. All right, let's dig into it. As you guys know, I took last week off because there were 5 weeks in April and I was abroad with my mother in England. I took my mother to the Cotswolds. Easier said than done when you have an 80-year-old mother. So actually, she's calling right now. What are the chances? Well, she calls every night. But while I'm podcasting and talking about her, that's random. Anyway, we had a lovely time. But it is exhausting pushing someone who's 80 years old around cobblestones, palaces, gardens in a wheelchair while helping them to enjoy the English countryside. We were on a delightful guided tour, HF Tours, that caters to the older set, and we had so much fun mixing and mingling with everybody in the tour group. But woof, woof, when I got home, I needed some regrouping. And that's me now, regrouping with clients and regrouping with returning to podcasting and talking to you. I'm going to start by answering a question, and this one is from not so far up the road in Guilford, Connecticut. M is writing me. It looks like Mina is the first name. Mina is writing me, and she says, Dear Betsy, I'm hoping to get your advice on how to furnish this large open concept space in our new home that's a direct adjacent space to the entryway. We prefer neutral colors like a modern design style somewhere in between mid-century modern and modern organic. We would like to invoke a calm, serene feeling. We do have a young child, so we would want furniture that we don't have to be too careful with. First, what should we do with the space above the fireplace? It is too tall for a TV. Would a mirror work there instead? If so, what kind of mirror would work best with the geometric paneling behind it? Second, how do we furnish the room without making it look too brown? Giving the extensive wood that's already in the room with the wood paneling on the wall and the wood on the lower cabinets in the kitchen. We'd like to keep the dining table if we can make it work, and the piano will definitely stay. But we are open to replacing the other furniture in the room. And what color scheme do you think would go best with the existing elements? Well, guys, I hope you are watching this on YouTube. And if you're not, I do want you to go over there because this room is very interesting and is very domineering in its style and spaces. And it's not an easy puzzle, but I'm excited to walk you guys through it. So let's just start with the fact that it is a very large room, very large, and the kind of light honey floors with the walnut tone island base within this accent wall she's speaking of, kind of a partial wall that's somewhat floating in the space that has wood slats that are in like a I don't know what to call this wash, kind of like a it's a cool oak kind of stain within a black backing. And then the space overall has cream walls, but it does have a ceiling that's slanted. So it starts lower on the side that currently has the kitchen, the dining area, and then vaults upward to I don't know how high. I'm going to guess 20 feet. It is a very unusual space. And right now, the space is broken up into four distinct zones. We have the kitchen area. You've inserted a dining table. We have a baby grand that is black. And we have a small seating area because I neglected to mention that that partial wall, it has actually got an electric fireplace within it. And as you mentioned, Mina, it's got a really large decorative sculpture type relief on the wall that has like this black and oak stained geometric paneling and is supposed to have a TV inset. There's just a lot going on. And in my mind, this room is very perplexing because not only do we have that, but where the ceiling starts to angle upward, you have an architectural break in the wall. There's like a small beam that comes down, and actually, that beam that starts in the ceiling continues down to the floor. Even though it's all painted either the ceiling or wall color, it is an architectural separation. The first question I would ask myself, and one thing I want to mention here, guys, even though I'm repeating myself, is that I don't do floor plans on the episode. And the reason I don't do floor plans on the episode is because floor plans are critical that you get right. they're critical that you put them in some kind of software and manipulate them and try different things and stay very open. And I like to leave no stone unturned, and I work with a proprietary system that takes a good amount of time to determine the layout. Now, sometimes you guys will write in with pictures of your bedroom, and it's easy for me to just spit out some things to think about that will lead to a great floor plan. In here, I just want to flag some issues. So, the first issue is that we have a big dining table that is a whole nother color from any of the woods I mentioned. It's almost like a rich mahogany color. And also, the entire space is, well, the cabinets with their crown molding and their shaker style fronts could either be contemporary or transitional. But the other elements, whether they're the dark ceiling fans, whether they're this slatted treatment on the partial wall that has the fireplace, they are very contemporary, if not modern. And this dining table set is not contemporary or modern. It definitely has some kind of flavor all its own. And then thinking about your other pieces of furniture, you have a black leather couch that's very contemporary and a live edge wood coffee table that is yet another shade of wood. Oh my gosh. So you don't want to get rid of the dining table, and I don't want to advise you to do something you don't want to do, but that dining table does not belong in this space. And I think the first thing you have to get clarity on is what your style is that you're infusing here. All right. That being said, if you do want a dining area in here, which would make sense, and you've certainly got plenty of room for it, I would put the dining area near the kitchen, which is where you have it parallel to this very large, beautiful island. So that feels somewhat placed, even though, of course, we could do it parallel to the island like you have here, or you could do it perpendicular to the island because the ceiling slope kind of changes the room space as well. And maybe having it parallel with the ceiling rather than parallel with the island is an interesting way to crack that nut. So I would want to try both. And then, of course, that leaves you with a pocket of space behind this dining area and leaves. Hi, I'm podcasting, my sweet goose. You want to come on the podcast with me? Okay. Guys, I hope you are watching on YouTube because the littlest designer has joined me. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Can you say, how are you?
How are you?
Mira.
I'm podcasting. So maybe you could take the baby so I could finish my episode.
Oh, I would love to. It's great to be on the show. Hi, America.
Okay, I'm podcasting.
Okay.
Maybe you could take our little baby.
Come on.
In the big.
Take the baby.
In the big.
Yes,
Take the baby.
take the baby. Yes, take Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Mira.
No, mine.
So you have.
Mira. Okay, Mira, come, baby. Come.
All right. Sorry for the disruptions, guys.
Oh my.
Whether it's calls from my mother or cries from my baby and my husband, podcasting at night is obviously not advisable. Okay. Would you please shut the door? Please.
Okay, we're leaving.
Please.
We're leaving.
Let's
Buckle. Let's go. You want.
Sorry, guys. Anyway, then you have a small amount of space left over after the dining area, which does seem to be good for this baby grand. But then as you go around the room and find yourself at 12 o'clock, if we're thinking of the kitchen at 6 o'clock, we have a big expansive wall that needs to be doing something. Heck, it's one of the largest unbroken walls in the space. It definitely needs some kind of task. And then, of course, in front of this electric fireplace, ideally we would put some seating. Now, the key here is that you want to play with the different arrangements. And there are so many arrangements and so many permutations that I really do not want to just give you a knee-jerk reaction here because there's other pockets to fill as well. And when I'm creating a layout, the first thing I ask myself and my clients is, what do we want to do in here? And you have lots of room to do lots of things. So, what is the intention? What do we want to do? And then prioritizing those functions in the order that they are important to you. And then once you have played with all the different furniture arrangements, weighing the pros and cons of each floor plan, you're going to separate the different areas you've created with area rugs. When I have an open concept space like this, I'm trying to define these zones and make them look intentional rather than just floating on this hardwood. And creating those boundaries with the rugs will really make this space sing. Mina, you have posed a challenge that I could answer here, but it would take a really long time, and it's best to collaborate with the person you're working with. This is where the money is made and lost in making furniture decisions and then buying furniture for the places you've committed to. And in a space that's not intuitive, you really have to do your due diligence. The other thing that was bothering me from the minute I looked at these pictures, and I did look at the pictures before I opened the email and read the text, is that they have put this paneling and this decorative feature with the paneling front and center in the space. They've obviously intended it to be a focal point, and they've obviously intended for there to be a TV there because there's an outlet there, but it is way too high for the space. I mean, this is like a movie theater type experience. I don't know how long that panel has been overlaid on that wood slatted detailing. But if it hasn't been very long, you could potentially lower it and then accommodate a TV there. If it has been a good long time, you could layer a mirror, but what are we really reflecting? It's at a very odd height. And it is so large, probably 7 or 8 feet long by 4 or 5 feet high, that you really have to do something dramatic and quite thought provoking. I hate to tell you, Mina, that this problem is too big for the podcast, but this problem is too big for the podcast. And I think you really need to be quite systematic with this, or else you're going to make very large mistakes, or it's always going to look awkward and goofy. But the first thing you should do is find some inspiration pictures, not only to inspire you on how to lay out your space, but first and foremost, to help show you what style you actually have, what style you want to be designing in. Because right now, if I'm looking at all your different pieces, not only are they a rainbow of fruit flavors in terms of wood grain and wood stain, but then also in terms of actual style. And for me, that's going to be as big a jumbled mess as the wrong floor plan. Oh my gosh, I know, I know. But I don't want to advise you guys wrong just because you're writing into the podcast. Sometimes when it's not a podcast solvable equation, sometimes when I'm going to need a floor plan with measurements, or I'm going to need to spend 30 minutes really figuring out all the permutations, it's more of a situation where, guys, you can hire me. Did you know that you can hire me to design your space? Mina, this is one of those spaces that needs a designer's eye. All you have to do is go to hello@uploft.com. Once again, just email hello@uploft.com, or you can go to uploft.com/podcast and fill out the form. Either way, let me know that, Betsy, I have a question that's big, or I'm needing more hand holding, or I want you to devote a certain amount of time just to my project. You can hire me by the hour, by the room. There's so many ways to take advantage of my expertise and apply them to your questions that go well beyond the podcast. I know it's a short episode this week, but you see, I have a lot going on. I had hoped to dig into Lena Dunham's memoir, but we're going to have to save that for another day. I have so many things I've been watching and reading that I cannot wait to fill with our May episodes. But it will have to wait because now I have to go change a poopy diaper and put somebody to bed. And no, that's not my husband. I'm referring to my daughter. And hopefully, in the interim between today's session and my next recording session, I'll solve the freaking Zoom issue because it's driving me nuts. Oh, well, guys, so much happening. It is Maycember. If you've been hearing people talk about it, I don't even have kids who are graduating, and it feels like Maycember. I hope your life is going a little bit less chaotically than mine. And until next week, bye. A big thanks to our producer, Jeremy Young, and to Aton and the Embassy for our theme music. And shout out to our parent company, Uploft Interior Design, your trusted source for expert interior design. Visit uploft.com to explore our services and book a consultation with one of our talented designers. If you're enjoying the Uploft Interior Design Podcast, please support us by sharing the show with friends and leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. It's the best way to help new listeners find us. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with more pro tips and pop culture dish.